Hi, it's Dr. Camry. I'd like to give you some feedback on your mind map. So let's look at your central topic here and accessing the central port by registered nurse in an inpatient setting, right? So I think you're going to be teaching nurses, from what I understand. Now, I want to talk really quickly about, or just make a comment about your post to the discussion board. So in your post, you didn't mention any of the theories, right? So the analysis had to demonstrate an in-depth understanding of educational theories, specifically the theories that you talked about or you thought about in your mind map, and I don't find that in your post. So let's go on to the theory. So sign learning theory is an interesting theory, but you need to keep in mind that all of Tolman's work was done with rats and mice. So if you look at what he talks about, right, what's talked about in this theory is kind of like signs on a road, right? That one sign or one thing directs you to the next thing, directs you to the next thing, which is very process oriented and kind of like what you would expect rats or mice in a maze to do. And it's a bridge between behavioralism, right, and cognitivism. But it may not be the best application, right, for people who have higher order thought, right? So I'm wondering how that would be one of the better theories, right, to use in the particular paper, unless you're calling out the lack of his work with humans, and it is kind of like, again, maybe more rote behavior, right? That and very much more behavioralist, right? And more closer linked to behavioralism than it is to cognitism when you kind of dig down. So the next theory you wrote about was excuse me, contiguity theory. So again, this is a stimulus type of theory. So again, a more behavioralist type of theory. So I'm kind of seeing a pattern here with the theories that you chose. I want you to think about, though, these theories and how behavior-driven action really then leads itself to critical thought. So I want you to be sure that you're kind of tying those things together, right? Because you're talking about processes and steps, right? Then you have experiential learning theory, right? Experiential learning, and that's Rogers, right? And that's more humanistic, right? And that would be more learner-centered or learner-driven, right? And more independent, right? So you go from theories on this side that are dependent on behaviors and stimuli, and then a theory on this side that's not dependent on stimuli at all, right? It's more internal. So just be aware of that, right? And Knowles' learning theory of andragogy, right? And that's an adult self-directed learning theory, right? Where adults take responsibility for their knowledge and need to connect prior knowledge, right, to new knowledge that's being presented to them, right? So you want to think about that. Think about how you, as the educator, yes, you are the facilitator, but what do you need to know? Right? Not the learning style necessarily of your learner, which are important, like what they prefer. Remember that myth of learning styles, we're not really sure whether that's really true or not. And let them discover on their own. But what else do you need to do as the facilitator in an andragogous class environment? What do you think you would need to know about your learners prior to an educational situation, or even during, right, and respond to that? So think about that. What do you think you would need to know about your learners? And then how theory could inform your instruction in this particular venue, right? Having processes to be practiced, right? So again, encouraging self-discovery and self-awareness and self-practice, right? So you've got a little bit of work here to do in theory that you're going to choose. Again, that's entirely up to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me.